All that sewing only to tear it apart and catch it on fire.
Oh, wow.
My brain did exactly that when I saw Harley's red dress in the Suicide Squad sequel. For those who haven't seen it, The Suicide Squad is the sequel to Suicide Squad. And this is no spoiler, but in the movie, Harley gets taken by a dictator to his palace, and she gets thrown into this beautiful red tulle princessy ball gown. And the moment I saw that, I thought, that's me, a brash, crass, full of sass, crazy clown in a ball gown. I have to make it. I bought the material for this shortly after the movie came out, so there weren't a lot of reference images to work with. And so I picked up a bunch of red tulle and some glitter tulle, as well as some red cotton for the base of this dress. From what I remembered, it looked like a slightly sparkly, tulle layered 1950s inspired prom gown. Now, it's about 2 years later, and there are much better high-res images out there. The one that I was really able to see the details on showed that the dress is actually like a scattered sequin base with a matte tulle over the top and more likely a burgundy color than actually a bright red. But screen accuracy is a myth, so let's just dive into it. I plan to use my self-drafted corset pattern and do some minor alterations to it. From there, I'll add the tulle pleating. Then I'll make a circle skirt, add the ruffles, then attach it to the bodice. I'll add the lining, insert a zipper, add a halter strap, and figure out those arm things. I took this corset pattern I made, cut it at the waist, and deepened the neckline. I added a little ease in the back so I can use a zipper instead of lacing. I made the lining to test the pattern, and it fits, so I cut the base out of this burgundy twill I got from Remainders Craft thrift store in Pasadena. I boned the seams, leaving the sides unsewn, and then pinned the front to my mannequin to pleat the tulle onto it. I started with the underside, folding and pinning each pleat down, and then taking it to the sewing machine to stitch it down, taking care to miss the boning. Then I trimmed the excess and pleated the overlapping half down, once again stitching it down. Then I stitched the sides together and pressed it. The reason I'm making this top with corset materials and techniques is because, one, putting structure into a gown just makes it look so much better. If you seriously want to upgrade your costuming skills, knowing when and how to apply shapewear and structure is an absolute must. And two, it'll keep the girls safe. For the things that I plan to do in this dress, this is an absolute must, but I'll get to that later. And if you're a more gifted upstairs lady than I am, then this is something you'll really want to learn. As for the skirt, I cut out a circle skirt pattern out of the plain red cotton. I misplaced my circle skirt patterns in my recent move, so the math didn't math right and I only got a half circle skirt. Her dress is a lot fuller, and so I wish I had gotten more fabric to do a full circle, but done is better than perfect, so I kept moving. It took me about 2 full days to gather and stitch, gather and stitch, and gather and stitch, gather and stitch. Probably about 50 yards of the tulle. One thing that I totally missed was that her layers aren't even. They weren't clean cuts like the 1950s tulle dresses. There is some unevenness to them. So if I were to make it again, I would actually probably make each layer about 6 inches long with maybe a 2-inch overlap, and make sure to vary my cuts so it had some unevenness to it. As it got fuller and fuller, it got harder and harder to push the fabric underneath the sewing arm, and so I found that rolling the finished edges of the skirt up like a burrito and pinning it down, no, not like that, like that, helped me get it under the sewing arm. Then I attached the skirt to the bodice at the waistline and added my zip. I took my lining, sewed it along the top edge of the right side of the bodice, and down the zipper's edge. I clipped the curves, flipped it right side out, and hand-stitched the waistline down. This gave it a very clean finish and made it more comfortable to wear since the scratchy tulle wasn't next to my skin. As for those weird arm things, I just cut some tubes of elastic that could fit around my upper arm with a little bit of ease, stitched some elastic inside of them, and then stitched loops of tulle over the top. It's not accurate, but it works. And with that, the dress was done, so I grabbed my best friend, dragged her to a sort of sketchy alley. Here we got some photos. But then, the real fun came. You know how sometimes you get that feminine urge to just smash something? No, just me? Ooh. I don't know where I got the idea, but I wanted to do a smash cake shoot, as if the Joker had given her a cake on Valentine's Day and Harley just goes absolute apeshit on it. So I went to the grocery store to try and get a cake for the next day, but apparently you need to give like a 24-hour notice for anything custom, so I decided to make it. I found this simple cake and got some stuff to bring my idea to life. But then I got sick again for the second time that month and had to wait a week for the shoot, which gave me plenty enough time to realize that I had also lost my Harley wig in the move. So I ordered one and figured that I'd use my favorite trick of dyeing it with some Rit Dye Poly, but being that it was Valentine's Day, it turns out that the red dye was sold out everywhere. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll try and find some red Sharpies and do like a Sharpie dip dye for the red side. And even Sharpies were pretty much sold out everywhere. So the best I found was some magenta and then some fine tip Sharpies, which I took the centers out of, soaked them in alcohol, and then soaked the wig tips in the alcohol and Sharpie concoction. And let me just say, Sharpies are great if you're trying to add just like a couple highlights or lowlights into a wig, or especially if you're trying to add roots to a wig. But anywhere that the hair will rub on your body, it will transfer. My entire shoulder was red after wearing that wig for just a little bit. So I do not recommend Sharpies for any sort of dyeing of the length. Just wait and get yourself some Rit dye. With that, the wig was more or less done. I cut some bangs into it, put 2 ponytails in, and it was essentially ready to go. But for this shoot, I really wanted to make the tattered version of Harley's dress at the end of the Suicide Squad movie. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit disheartening to do all that sewing only to tear it apart and catch it on fire, but do it for the art, right? Please exercise extreme caution if you are doing this at home. My dress was also polyester, not mostly cotton. So my edges didn't really catch on fire, they more just melted, which gave this beautiful singed edge and also sealed the edges so I don't have to worry about the dress continuing to fray. But with that, the dress, the cake, the wig, and my immune system were finally ready. So now I present to you a Valentine's Day short. I am so glad to be back making content, and I know it's a little late, but better late than never, right? Leave in the comments down below what you think I should make next. I would love to hear your suggestions and any way that I can help you become better at costume making. Oh, I have changed my handle. I am no longer Let Down Your Golden Hair. I am now just my name everywhere, Nikki Blackwell, 3 L's, because apparently my name's taken on most platforms, but yep. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.